My name is Barbara Waterman Peters. I am an artist here in Topeka, and this is my painting, C-19, One Crow's Sorrow. This is a painting that evolved over a year's time. I did not work on it steadily, but every now and then I would go back to it in between other works that I was doing. Of course, as we all know, we have been involved with the COVID-19 pandemic, and I am extremely aware of our situation, as everyone else is as well. I have been chronicling current situations for many years, starting with some political work back in the 90s. I took a moratorium for that for a while and am now back to it. In 2016, I became very interested in current events with the election of the former administration. I began a series called Ship of Fools, which I have worked on since then, creating a number of variations in that series. When COVID came along, Ship of Fools didn't seem appropriate because although we're all in the same boat still, it was a boat that we needed to steer together, and with the death toll, with the horrible things going on, I felt I needed to address this in a different way. So I stepped away from Ship of Fools and began what I'm calling the C-19 series. This is the second one in the series. I look back on when I started it, which would have been in late 2019, early 2020. And the first thing that I regret is starting on such a huge canvas when I really wasn't sure what all I would want to say, or how things would evolve, or just what I would want to include. And so it became a challenge that I hope I have met. I just completed the piece earlier this month, and I think that it encompasses what I want to say. As I said, the title is C-19, One Crow's Sorrow. There is actually one crow at the very top. Now, in mythology and in many poems and rhymes that you find, of course, the crow is present, as are ravens. But different numbers of crows have different symbolism. And so one crow is for sorrow. And so that seemed appropriate as a title. But there are many other elements here that I would like to explain to you so that it will enrich your enjoyment of the piece. The vulture is a symbol that I have used many, many times. And for me, it's a kind of mixed message. A vulture in common parlance has to do with a scavenger. The vulture is an element that I have used many times in paintings. For me, a vulture talks about chaos, but it also talks about change. It talks about cleaning up. It talks about its role in the scheme of things. And so I thought that while it's watching over this situation where it's implied that people are ill and are dying, and so it appears that it will swoop in like a vulture, it also speaks to order being restored, things being cleaned up later. Moving from the vulture, I think it will make sense if we just move down the canvas. The red in the background addresses the issue of wildfires, our environment, of things that have been going on with climate change, of the fires burning out of control, just like COVID-19 has been out of control. Moving forward, there are the four horses of the apocalypse, another mythological or biblical element that I have used many times. There is death on a pale horse, the white horse, the red horse, and the black horse. These, of course, have to do with the end. They come from the book of Revelations. And so as they stand there, obviously worried, fearful, they represent a sort of possible end times. But then we come down to all the figures in their PPE, and we all know what PPE is. We certainly heard that term often enough. And some of these people are helping, some of them are overwhelmed. Some of them, for instance, this figure is leaning right over the Jack-in-the-Box, which is another frequent character in my paintings, and out of which springs the virus. And this figure is looking at us, and she is worried, and she is questioning what we're going to do now. A number of the figures are looking at us, some are looking somewhere else. Moving down, we have children who, of course, are the future and will be affected if we don't get this under control. The dogs, I'm always using two black dogs. They have to do with loyalty and with being guards or guardian figures. Under the Jack-in-the-Box is a tortoise. And most people have asked me, is that a tortoise? What is that doing? This addresses the old myth of the earth on the back of a tortoise or turtle, or the turtle or tortoise itself as a symbol for the earth. Because globally, we're all involved in this. This isn't just something that we here in the US are suffering from. And finally, the checkerboard. Now, the checkerboard might seem like a lighter-hearted motif. However, it really isn't, because our lives sometimes are almost a game of chance. And that this coronavirus was released from wherever it was released from was strictly by chance that it happened in our world, at our time. And, it's the worst pandemic in 100 years. So that was all chance. The white tents, jumping back up to here, could be the COVID testing tents, the vaccination tents, some kind of triage. And so basically, this explains the piece. Sometimes explaining something, over-explaining it, will take away some of the magic. But I think the situation that we're all in now and the seriousness of it is probably an exception to that, because although we're all, pardon the pun, sick of the whole situation, we are still sick. We are just coming out of it, and thankfully, with the vaccines and everything. And there are a couple of other points I'd like to make. The light bulb coming down out of nowhere. I am channeling Picasso's Guernica that he painted after the bombing attack on Guernica in Spain during World War II, or just prior to World War II. I'm sorry, I don't have the date. But that made such an impression on me, that white horse head and then this light bulb. And I think it's a very strong image. And so I wanted to include that. Another point is that everyone, even the children, are in masks. You know, how much longer will we have to wear masks? Will children have to grow up still wearing masks? And a final point I'd like to make is, why did I choose to paint this? Why in this time, horror and really difficult circumstances, would I want to paint this? Why wouldn't I want to paint flowers and pretty landscapes? And I do paint those things, of course. You need a break from the seriousness of this. But artists are communicators. Artists reflect their times. And I felt that it was important that I record or react to, respond to a situation that is so grievous. And I just didn't feel that I would fulfill my role as an artist, as a serious artist, as an artist who is aware, if I did not create some kind of image that spoke to all of our fears, our hopes, our current situation, because it is so all-encompassing. I mean, everyone is affected by this. There's no one who has not been affected by it. And in some way, to create an image of it, to give people something to look at that sort of helps center or focus their concerns, might be a healthy thing. It certainly helped me cope with it all. And I hope that everyone understands it in that spirit. I'm not in any way glorifying. I am merely trying to pull it into some kind of form that we can all relate to. Thank you.